Hi, I'm David Lee. Welcome to another adventure of Culinary Capers. I'm pleased to have in my kitchen today my good friend Steve Canton.
Hello there.
And Steve and his wife are showing me how to make one of their favorite recipes. And I've been invited to their house, so I know it's good. It's a tomato pie, right, Steve?
That's exactly right.
And I know to some you can say, oh, there's a lot of ingredients, but let me tell you, this is well worth it. The tomato pie, as Steve did it. So Steve, we start with 6 slices of bacon, and then we sauteed 3 medium onions. And it seems like a lot of onions, but when you saute it, it settles down. And then this is 2 tomatoes?
Two large tomatoes.
2 large tomatoes.
Larger than that.
Maybe larger than this, yeah. Sliced up and quartered. And then we put them between paper towels to get as much moisture out of them as possible. Then we've got about a half a cup, which is probably more than we need, of rough chopped parsley. And then, Steve, you like to use fresh oregano.
You have to use fresh oregano and fresh rosemary.
Yeah, and fresh rosemary. So so his recipe calls for using half of this, but as you said, Steve, this is going to make 2 pies now.
Right.
But if you're only going to make 2 pies,
just
use
use
the
it
whole
all.
thing.
Yeah.
So lots of flavor in it. And if you don't have fresh, which is easy to get, you can always use a lot less because it's much more intense flavor, your dried oregano. And then here's our chopped rosemary, fresh rosemary that we had. And then, Steve, you got about 3 cups of cheese, and about 2/3 of it is the Jarlsberg.
Jarlsberg, which is kind of a light Swiss.
Yeah, and it's a hard cheese, and the other one is
I use
Asiago?
whatever other hard cheese I happen to have around. Today I had Asiago.
And then we're going to use 2 frozen deep dish pie crusts today. And I have discovered up at Fresh Market they've got a really good gluten-free pie crust that you could also use, which would make this a gluten-free product then. And then salt and pepper to taste. And last but not least, cornflake crumbs. I know you've invited us over, and it's really nice for a brunch. But then the second one you freeze.
Exactly.
And you sometimes freeze it whole or cut it up in pieces.
Right.
So that you can reheat it later.
So the first thing we do, and this is again to take away a little bit of the extra moisture from the tomatoes, is put a light base of the crumbs at the bottom. I'll just do that for you.
Oh, thank you.
I'm right here. And then we dig in. And the first thing we do is put in a layer of tomatoes for each pie. So I'm going to put it down here because it'll go a little faster.
And once again, to reiterate, these were pretty large tomatoes you used.
Yeah, I tend to get them at that veggie stand over there on McGregor, and there's always nice and big tomatoes there.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the first layer. The next thing we do is put some of these sauteed onions. Now the next thing is some bacon.
Now we're getting our oregano and our chopped rosemary.
Right.
And I saved a little bit here because these are really nice small ones.
Right.
But sometimes the oregano are big, so you need to
Right.
chop them up. But you just leave these whole, right?
Just leave them whole because they're a nice small leaf.
Okay.
Okay, and just kind of sprinkle around. Again, there's going to be 2 layers.
And once again, we need to save half of this for the second layer, right?
Exactly. Okay, trade your bowls.
All right. And I must say that this is a lot of herbs from what I'm used to, but I've had it before and it's delicious.
Oh, yes.
The flavors are really nice.
This is time when I put some salt and pepper on.
Okay. I'll do the salt.
And again, it's just to taste. And now the cheese. We're doing 2 layers, so can't use it all at once.
I got a sense we have a little bit more than, it's 3+ cups.
3+.
Is what you say, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's no need to scrimp.
okay.
All right, now we start over. Back to the tomatoes and put on another layer. Now the rest of the onions. And the bacon. Next layer of herbs. And we do have a little parsley here. Most of it is for the garnish on top of the finished. But a little bit inside one layer is a good thing too. Finish off with the cheese.
There we go.
And this gives it a nice little crust on top of the cheese. We've preheated the oven to 350 degrees. And then it cooks for an hour.
What do you think?
Perfect.
Okay.
And then we let them sit for about 5 minutes. It settles in a little bit, makes it easier to slice that way. What I've done in the past is, just like this, cut it ahead of time, and then you put it in the freezer, and then if you want to have some another day, 1 or 2 pieces, you take it out for maybe an hour. It gets softened up just enough so you can get a piece out. You can put it back in the freezer without much damage, and it's ready for the next time.
There you have it. Steve and Renee's tomato pie. Thanks for joining us today, and Steve, thank you for sharing
Thanks for
your
having me.
wonderful recipe with us.
I enjoyed it.
Bye now.